Welcome to another episode of Morbid Visions.
I am Morbid, and tonight we're going to do a top 5 on possession films. One of my favorite subject matters for horror films. Just something about, it's funny, I'm not a religious person at all, but religious horror fascinates me. I find religious storylines very interesting, and it's something I enjoy reading about. I enjoy writing. So it's actually probably one of my favorite subject matters for horror films, which I think I just said, and I just repeated myself. So, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about 5 movies about the subject of possession. But even though I just mentioned religious, not all of these are religious films. Some of them are, some of them aren't. So, now, let's just get into it. Number 5. Actually, this one, the first one we're going to look at here, number 5, might make a few of you scratch your head and be like, huh? But my number 5 pick is Record. Spanish movie about a reporter who gets assigned to a local fire department, doing a story on the firefighters, hoping to get a ride along. A call does come in, and she gets to do a ride along with them. They end up in an apartment building. Once they're inside, trying to figure out what's going on and everything, and they end up, there's not a fire, but they come across, some sick people, and things start going very badly, very quickly from there. Now, I'm sure, actually, before I continue, if you have not seen the Record movies, 1, 2, and 3, and 4, actually made 4, and you don't want to hear what these are about, because I'm going to spoil it here, fast forward until you see me hold up the next film, okay? Alright, you've been warned. Okay, so, like I said, some of you are probably wondering, why the hell are you holding up the Record movies in a possession movie? It's a found footage zombie film. That's what it looks like in the first movie. If you've seen part 2, you know what I'm talking about. In part 2, it becomes revealed that these people there's not an infection, they're not turning into zombies. Turns out, they're possessed. This guy who's he wasn't doing makes it look like he's doing medical experiments. He was actually doing ritual experiments. And when that happened in Record 2, I was just like, whoa, alright, now I love this. I was already a fan of the first movie. I was enjoying the second one. But when that twist happened, when it turns out it's not zombies, these people are possessed, and they're possession films, it went to a whole nother level for me. I just thought it was like the coolest thing. And it was just a nice surprise too. So yeah, Record, not a zombie film, it's a possession film. But they don't tell you that in the first movie, which makes it even more interesting. You have to wait until halfway through the sequel. So, yeah, Record. Very good movie. Check it out. Definitely the better of the found footage films. Check it out. Okay. Number 4. One of the ones I said, not religious. This does not fall into the category religious, but it is, of course, a possession film. It is an awesome movie. This movie is from Italy. I would say it falls more under the gore category than religious. So we have Lamberto Bava's Demons. Awesome movie. Actually, the first gore movie I ever saw. It was actually, I started renting movies at my the mom and pop shop that was around, which I missed so much. I was renting movies with an older friend that lived next door, and he was just getting into horror films. So he was asking me what I heard, and what was the first? I think the first one we actually rented was Nightmare on Elm Street. I think the second one was Creepshow, And then the third movie was Demons. And this movie blew my mind. Just blew me away because I had never seen, obviously, because I was new to horror at the time. I never expected to see stuff so graphic. I mean, it didn't repulse me, it didn't turn me off or anything, but I was just like, whoa, oh my god. The part where it finally got to me was when, I forgot her name, but the girl is turned into a demon in front of the movie theater screen. And once her teeth you see her human teeth starting getting pushed out of the way by the demon teeth coming in. To me, that was just so graphic. I was just like, oh my god, like, this is awesome, holy crap. So yeah, Demons is the first gore film I ever saw. If you haven't seen Demons, it's about two friends. They're given free tickets to a movie screening at a new theater, giant, really big Gothic theater in Italy. And they go to it. They don't know what they're going to see, and it turns out it's a horror film, and it's about the coming of demons. There's props like in the lobby of the theater, and some of the props start showing up in the movie they're watching. So it becomes a really cool film within a film. The film within the film manipulating their reality in the movie. So yeah, very cool movie, and it just, by a halfway point, it just kicks ass. It's just nonstop, just demons everywhere, and people just trying to survive, and people just being ripped to pieces. So very awesome movie. Definitely check it out. Okay, next, a definite classic, one of my favorite horror films of all time. This is definitely in my top 5. John Carpenter's Prince of Darkness. You know, I just realized on the John Carpenter video, I showed my old DVD, forgetting that I had the Shout Factory, probably because the slipcase was on it. I got the slipcase over there, and I forgot that I had the original artwork underneath. So I'm saying, I was showing the other one for the original artwork. Here's the original artwork right here on the brand new DVD. So, John Carpenter's Prince of Darkness. Discovery is made once a priest dies. Hidden secret within the Catholic Church. This old abandoned church in LA. I don't know if in the movie it actually says it's in LA, but so priests ask the help of a college professor who does physics, quantum physics and everything, and brings all of his physics students to try to figure out what is going on, why certain things are being manipulated the way they are. And they basically find a vat filled with green liquid down in the basement of the church, and it's manipulating the atmosphere, it's manipulating the computers they're using, and people slowly start to become possessed by it. Very great, very cool movie. I love this movie. It's my favorite John Carpenter film. I saw this on opening night when it came out in theaters. I went with an older friend who got me in, and just within the first 5 minutes, I mean, I felt like I was watching greatness on the screen. I was just like, this is a damn good movie. So it just has a great feeling of dread from the very beginning of the movie. The movie is just soaked in dread. It's great atmosphere, incredible movie. So yeah, John Carpenter's Prince of Darkness. Okay, next. Even though this is my top 5, this movie is considered the pinnacle, the apex of possession films. Really, when it comes to possession films, no one's ever going to do it better. This movie is the ultimate. Of course, I'm talking about The Exorcist. This movie they tapped into something with this movie. There's just nothing else like it. People freaked out in the theaters. People were running out. People were passing out. It does get a hold of you, and it gets under your skin. It gets into your mind. It's the movie, there's something, it feels like there's something pure evil in this movie, which just makes it so great. Um, it is considered, and I agree, it's considered the scariest movie ever made. And I think that title holds up. I think it does. There's just something about this movie. There's something psychological about this movie. Now, I know a lot of people, some people might be watching and be like, oh, come on, blah, whatever. I was exactly the same way when I was a teenager. I was probably 17, maybe I was 18, I don't know, by the time I saw this movie. Strangely enough, my mother went to see this in the theater. That's just how, it was like, that's how big of an event this was. My mother does not watch horror films. She doesn't watch any of my films. she can't take it. She's just not into it. But friends talked her into going to see this because, like I said, back in 1973, I think it was 73, this was just a huge event. So everyone went to go see this movie, unless they're absolutely scared out of their minds to go see it. Of course, not knowing what they were getting into. I think my mother walked out. I don't think she made it through the whole movie, if I remember correctly. But, so you hear about it. You grow up, you're hearing about how intense this movie is and everything. And me as a teenager, I had already watched Demons. I've watched a lot of stuff by the time I got around to watching this one. And so you hear about it. This movie is not made for teenagers. It doesn't work. This movie, this isn't a fully adult movie, I believe. Obviously, teenagers can enjoy it, but you don't appreciate it. And for some reason, I don't know what it is, psychologically, I don't think you're ready for this movie until you're a little older, a little bit further into your life. As a teenager, I watched this movie, and I liked it. But when it ended, I'm like, that's it. I was the typical teenager. I was like, that wasn't scary. What the hell? I was totally that when I first saw this as a teenager. I don't know how long it took me before I finally returned to this movie, but it was much more intense on the second viewing years later. On the third, even more on the fourth. For some reason, this movie gets better and better and scarier as the older you get. I don't know why. It's like like I said, they tapped into some type of psychological thing with this movie that gets into your mind. And it appears that it gets better and scarier with age. Don't know why. But it seems to be true, and I know a lot of other people that say the same thing. So yeah, I can't even imagine what this must have been like in the theater in 1973. I mean, you watch it this movie is, I don't care what anyone says. I don't care if Serbian film, blah, blah, blah. I like movies like that. I like all the shock films. But this movie is still, you watch this movie and you can feel it. You feel this film. So yes, this is the scariest movie ever made. You can't argue about it. Yeah, you don't argue with me. You can't do it. This must have been intense as hell back in 1973. I mean, seriously. I mean, I'm trying to keep this channel clean, so hopefully I can build up to a business type thing with this. So I can't say some of the certain things, but Reagan with the crucifix scene. Seriously, that's still shocking as hell today. So yeah, The Exorcist, the ultimate possession film. It's not my number one on this list simply because I'm going by my favorite of this topic, but this is the ultimate possession film, and many people say it's the ultimate horror film, which I have no problem with that title. I've got no problem. I don't even know if this is in my top 10 horror films, but as far as what's called a horror film, yes, this could be the ultimate one, and no one's ever going to top it. Especially the way movies are made nowadays, it's not going to happen. So, The Exorcist, pure horror. Now, my choice of number one possession film, it just happens to be my favorite film of all time, but it just happens to be a possession film, so it works out that way. The Evil Dead. What can you say about this movie? it's just such a classic. This movie, it's to me, it's just like it's the perfect horror film. Everything about it. I mean, great. Okay, some of the acting isn't the greatest, whatever, blah blah blah, but the atmosphere, the setting, the build up, the intensity, the gore. It's such a great horror film. I love this movie so much. Strangely enough, the first time I saw it, I wasn't really too much into it. I mean, I liked it, but I heard so much about it, and when I finally saw it, I was like, I was a little let down, or a lot like The Exorcist, surprisingly. It was when I watched it the second time that I became obsessed with it. I watched this movie so much, especially during the first year. I didn't own it because it wasn't for sale at the time. You couldn't buy it, so I had to rent it and then put two VCRs together and made a dub. I watched that thing so many times, over and over, and it inspired me so much to make movies. Our short film Final Scream, that's on Morbid Tales. It's just this movie. It's the Evil Dead for us. It was us out in the woods, just having a great time, thinking of the Evil Dead the entire time. But obviously, if you haven't gotten around, if you're younger and you haven't gotten around to this movie yet, 5 friends go on a vacation, rent a small cabin out in the woods. They find some odd stuff in the basement, one's being a tape recorder, and they play the tape recorder back, and it's a professor on vacation with his wife in the cabin, and he starts translating Kandarian rituals, and when he plays the tape, it resurrects the spirits again out in the woods, and they attack they attack the cabin, possess the friends inside one by one, and the movie just turns into a total gore fest. Great movie. Such a good movie. I love this. So yeah, excellent possession film. A lot of time, I mean, I've seen people put this in a category of zombie films. It's definitely not a zombie film, even though by part 2 they got like the Deadites and all that. But yeah, it's a possession film, and it's a damn good one. All right, so those are my choices of top 5 possession films. There are some other notable ones. I watched one recently again, another Italian film. I think it's Italian. Basically a total ripoff of. It was just them cashing in on The Exorcist. It's called Antichrist. It's good, but when I watched it again recently, it didn't quite hold up. But if you're younger and when I first watched it, I thought it was really cool. But it's cool to watch, but it's just not one that holds up. Then you've got there's a whole slew of them out now that came out within the last 10 years. The Exorcism of Emily Rose. Those movies are good, but they don't compare to these, I believe. And even like the prequels. Are they prequels? Yeah, I think they're the 2 different prequels for The Exorcist. One of them was just bleh, it was just nothing. The other one was the one where they find the huge inverted cross in the underground cave when they unearth a church or a chapel or whatever underground, and there's a huge inverted cross. That one I remember was pretty good. But if I remember correctly, whoever gets possessed at the end, it turns into a CGI cartoon, as they always do nowadays, which really sucks. That's what kills a lot of these movies, is when their use of CGI. It just takes away any intensity that you've built up. Once your movie becomes a cartoon, you've killed it. You've killed the mood. So, yeah.